A weakening Turkish lira is having knock-on effects on prices in Turkey. The inflation rate hit its highest level in 15 years last month. That's compelled the government to introduce measures to counter inflation. It's promising to help stabilize the cost of production for companies by freezing energy prices.
As long as there is no major global change, there will be no increases in electricity and natural gas prices till the end of the year.
The government's increasing oversight on supply chains and introducing a new law to keep prices of groceries in check. Ankara's promising to speed up the payment of tax refunds to businesses. And it's offering support for companies facing a cash crunch so they don't have to lay off workers. The government's plan also relies on the private sector and consumers. A number of banks and retail brands have already expressed their support for the anti-inflation drive. They'll be displaying signs like these in their shop windows. They let people know they're offering discounts of 10% or more on their products and services. And the government wants consumers to play their part by taking their business to these companies. Banks will also offer discounts on high-interest loans issued after the 1st of August. The government and Turkey's business community is seeking across-the-board support for the plan.
I hope that this campaign will be adopted by all 81 million people of Turkey, and that the companies will offer bigger discounts to bring down inflation and stimulate the economy.
It's a radical idea that relies on all stakeholders of the economy, and if it's successful, Turkey can avoid seeking help from abroad, which usually comes with painful reforms. And that would be a win for all Turkish companies and consumers. Mubin Nasir, TRT World, Istanbul.
And Mobin joins me on set for more on this. Hi Mobin, you were at the unveiling of these measures here in Istanbul. How successful do you think this plan will be in reining in inflation?
So look, energy and finance costs, those are among the two, those are perhaps the most significant costs, and they're certainly the two costs that have been pushing inflation the most in Turkey over the past few months. Although it may be argued that both of these have an external component, the lira falling against foreign currencies has pushed up the cost of borrowing, and global oil prices are rising. That ties into energy costs. So the answer to your question was perhaps a yes and a no. Yes, to the extent that the government has promised to cap energy prices till the end of the year. That should give relief to businesses, which they are then expected to pass on to buyers. And no, to the extent that, of course, we are expecting this trend of oil prices to continue to rise. We are also seeing emerging economy currencies falling against the dollar. That trend is also expected to continue. So perhaps some respite, perhaps not the same pace of runaway inflation that we've seen over the past month or so.
And one aspect of the plan, and you mentioned it in your story, is that I guess it relies heavily on the goodwill of both businesses and the consumer to engage in this plan. I mean, do you think that will actually happen? What's the incentive for the corporate sector and the individual to take part in this?
I think that one of the incentives is that the government has not, despite calls from some quarters, taken any steps that did not have the buy-in of the private sector or mandated them to do certain things that they would not want to. Think capital controls. There was a lot of pressure on the government to come through with those. It didn't, resisted. Similarly, for restructuring loans, there was a lot of pressure on the government to announce a plan from its end. It didn't, and eventually the banks were able to come up with a plan on their own. So I think the real incentive here is for the companies to be able to work in a free market, to be able to work without the government telling them that they must do something. And of course, if they don't take sort of like a little bit of a hit on their profits, that could then cascade into a slowdown in buying, which would of course hurt everyone. So really, I think this is kind of a situation where everyone is taking a little bit less profit, just to be able to make sure that everything works as expected, or stability is maintained.
Interesting. Let's see how it all works. Mobin Nasser, thank you for your thoughts.